Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic Puzzle Quest video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my tips for how to achieve perfection in the Commoner Cup. So, let's get into it. The Commoner Cup is a very interesting event. So, you're going to be able to use the current standard sets, but you'll also see that it has an allowed rarities. And so with this, we're only allowed to use common cards. In this event, players can only use common cards to build their decks. That means that even if you want to, you can't use uncommons, you can't use rares, you can't use mythics, and you can't use masterpieces. That means for all of you platinum players, this is a refreshing opportunity for you to go up against some really silly decks in Planeswalkers and just have some fun. For those of you that are new to Platinum or that are just starting the game, this gives you a chance to play without having to run into some overpowered card that's just going to wreck your day. So I think the event is really, really cool. When you're deciding on what it is you want to run for this event, there are a few best options, and then there are some other options that are really good, and then there's just all the fun stuff because you are going to get as many nodes as you want, so you're going to reach progression anyways. I like to try and get my progression as quickly as possible and achieve all of my ribbons. And so I was able to do that with one of my favorite decks. But in this video, what I want to do is I want to show you guys some of the Planeswalkers that I think are the most effective for this event, some of the strategies that I think are the most effective for this event, and then at the end, just for some fun, I'm going to show you some gameplay of things in action. The Planeswalkers that I ran into the most commonly in this event were absolutely no surprise. It was Ajani, Invigorate Leadership, and of course, Dakon, Shadowslayer. These were the two Planeswalkers that I ran into probably 50% of the time or better, with the majority of those being Dakon, Shadowslayer, but Puzzle Masters Ajani still seeing use more than really just about anything else. With that said, I think that there are actually more powerful options than these two Planeswalkers, but I feel like these two are probably the easiest, which is probably why a lot of players were using them. Dakon's first ability is just cheating in this event. You are going to Surveil 4, which will let you control what you're drawing. You're going to gain life equal to the number of white gems on the board. Your opponent is going to lose life equal to the number of black gems on the board, and you're going to gain loyalty equal to the number of blue gems on the board. Since this is an event where you're going to want to be running a lot of conversion, that conversion is going to be able to enable you to sort of determine what sorts of gems are going to be on the board by just picking blue and black as an example. And then by just spamming the first ability, which you can do every single turn once you get that first set of 9 loyalty, you will be able to whittle your opponent down by just using that first ability and killing them with just that. If you wind up getting a whole bunch of excess loyalty, you can choose to freely exile your opponent's creatures with the second, or you can use the third to get a whole bunch of extra converters down, and then get the Forging the Blackblade token down as well, which will empower your creatures based on the number of gems of Dakon's colors on the board, and get rid of your opponent's creatures, and just win the game. So Dakon is a very easy Planeswalker to use to win, and I would say that for this particular event, Dakon as a Planeswalker is the strongest Planeswalker. However, I do think that there are cards that are stronger than Dakon is as a Planeswalker that make other Planeswalkers better choices, in my own personal opinion. As for Puzzle Masters Ajani is just complete easy mode in general. It's got a staggeringly high +7 to white, so with all the conversion that you've got, you're going to be able to play anything that you draw. You've got a passive ability that's going to start making cat tokens if you're at full life. You've got a first ability, second ability, and third ability that cost tremendously low loyalty counts and are going to make it so that your creatures have lifelink, your creatures have double strike, your creatures have prevent damage. And so Ajani Invigorate Leadership is just really, really easy to use for this event in that you're going to be able to sort of outlast your opponent by getting a whole bunch of life, getting double strike, and then waylaying your opponent with that. Now, with that said, I actually think that there are, in my opinion, two other Planeswalkers that are better because they have what I feel are the best strategies that you can use in this particular event. One of them is going to be Grist. I would say that the strongest strategy that you can use in this event is actually going to be to use Toxic. Toxic makes it so that if you get a Phyrexian Toxin token down with 20, that's level 20, so with the 20 toxins, that it's just going to automatically kill your opponent. And so with this, you really don't need to worry about playing the strongest creatures. You just need to get the toxin tokens onto your opponent and kill them with that. Grist's first ability is going to make it so that if your opponent winds up killing your creatures, it really doesn't matter. You're just going to bring them back anyways. And so you've effectively got this immortal army of toxin token critters that are going to ultimately kill your opponent because you're going to get all the toxins into them. Those toxins will wipe them out alarmingly quickly. The only thing to really worry about if you're running the toxin strategy is that you might wind up killing your opponent a little bit too quickly, because you do need to make sure that you draw 8 cards and that you cast 5 or more supports during the fight. You'll notice that Grist only has 4 supports in deck. That's the maximum amount of supports that you can run with Grist, so you really want to make sure that you're maximizing those supports. You'll see that the way that I ran it for this particular deck is to run 4 converters, between the Hunter Maze that converts to green, Pilgrimage which converts to green, Haunted Mire which is black-green, and Festering Gulch which is also black-green. The other things that you're going to want, because Grist doesn't have removal nicely built into the kit, are things that are going to kill your opponent's stuff. So Vraska's Fall and Deadly Derision are good examples. Vraska's Fall also happens to give you Phyrexian Toxins in your opponent's side, so that's really, really nice. Grist's second ability gets rid of supports, so you really don't need to worry about support destruction, and of course Read the Bones is going to enable you to draw more cards, which will get you more of those lovely supports that you might need, or ideally draw those 8 cards. The last, well, I guess it's not the last, but the next strategy that I think is really good, this is the one that I went with, and I think is, my own personal opinion, the very best strategy that you can use, is actually a Kasmina deck. The strongest common right now, in my opinion, is Slime Against Humanity. This thing here is going to make oozes that are going to get really, really big, really, really fast. That first set of oozes where you make 4 2/2 oozes and give them XX equals the number of oozes is 15 mana for a 12/12. 15 for a 12/12 as a common for this event is absolutely insane. You're going to get these real big, real fast. Kasmina's second is kind of a cheat code with that because it's going to give full mana to the ooze, and then you're going to get a copy of it. So you're going to be able to just keep playing it over and over again. Furthermore, the Unsolved Enigma is going to make it so that you're able to get a whole bunch of different goodies in your hand. Those goodies are going to be things that let you fetch lands, fetch cards, exile creatures, get rid of supports, whatever you need. And so the second ability kind of propagates itself as well by converting all the gems to different colors, and then it's going to match a whole bunch of gems as a result and give you a whole bunch of extra loyalty. So that's really, really good. The first ability, letting you fetch cards out of your library and give them mana, is also really good because, as you guessed, it's going to enable you to get anything that you need for your objectives. Be that supports that will wind up ideally converting to gems for you, give you some mana, give you some loyalty, or some removal in case you need that. And blue actually has, in my opinion, some of the best cards for removal in the format. You've got Johann's Stopgap over here, which is going to bounce your opponent's first creature. If they don't have a creature, you're going to bounce one of their supports, and then you're going to draw a card. And then if you want, you can bargain and destroy one of your supports to give the card that you just drew 6 mana. So this thing lets you untargeted get rid of anything from the battlefield, and it's going to draw you a card for that draw objective. So this is going to be really, really great as removal. You've got Unlucky Drop, which is, I think, another really good removal card for this format because it's going to bounce a creature and destroy an opposing support. It doesn't state whether it has to be a land or anything, so it's just really nice for making sure that you're getting rid of your opponent's stuff. Marauding Brinefang is, I think, arguably like the second best card in my opinion for this format. It's 15 for an 8/9. It's got Ward, and the Ward at 3, it honestly just basically has Hexproof. So you've got 15 mana for an 8/9, which is like one of the strongest common creatures in the game, if not the strongest. And it's got Hexproof, and if you want, you can cycle the card for 3 mana, which is nothing, to draw an extra card if you wind up needing it for the objective. And if you wind up cycling it away, you get a 3/3 dinosaur out of it. So honestly, everything about this card is amazing. Then we've got the Blue Man group that, I don't know, they did horrible things with Lord Voldemort and created these bad boys. But either way, this is a 4/4 for 16, which would normally be overcosted. But in this situation, it's going to bounce your opponent's first creature and it's going to investigate, which is going to create a raging clue that will enable you to draw a card. That's going to help you with your objectives, you're going to get a beater on the battlefield, and you're going to bounce stuff from your opponent. We've got Balluna's Gatekeeper, 6/5 is a solid body, but the adventure side of this is going to bounce target creature that costs 11 or less to your opponent's hand and make it cost 4, or make it gain 4 mana. So this just really is going to bounce things. There's a lot of tokens in this format, so it's going to let you get rid of those tokens. And then, honestly, everything about this deck is amazing. I found that for me personally, this deck had the best combination of control and lethality, along with ease of use for being able to get all the objectives of all the different decks that I tried. The one deck that I wound up losing points with, as you'll see that I don't actually have a perfect number here, was, I think, actually the Dakon deck. So just keep that in mind. The last Planeswalker that I saw a fair amount of that I think is actually really, really good for this event is going to be Liliana of the Veil. Liliana of the Veil is a Planeswalker that really doesn't need cards to excel that much, and once you get the loyalty up to get the Curse of the Veil tokens, you kind of just make your opponent discard cards or destroy cards from library, and you win the game off of that. The first ability is incredibly nasty as well for getting rid of cards from people's hands, converting gems, and making those extra loyalty gems. However, you do want to be careful with Liliana of the Veil, because that first ability, if you're using that on spam, is going to get rid of cards from your hand, which is going to make it harder for you to get all of your supports down, unless you're tossing non-support cards. But really, with this Planeswalker, the goal with this type of deck is probably just going to be to get those Curse of the Veil tokens down. So those are the strategies that I think are the most effective. You'll notice that I didn't really get into, like, what deck would I use for Puzzle Masters of Johnny? What deck would I use for Dakon? Because there's just so many different options here that you could run that if I were to showcase every single deck, that it would just be an overly long video with way too much information in it. That and the deck that I wound up running for Dakon wound up being very similar to my Kasmina deck, except that you don't have the oozes. And of course, Kasmina's wonderful, wonderful abilities. So with that, that's all from me. If you wound up running something else in this event that you found was particularly effective, leave that in the comments. All of y'all people, if you're looking through this video and you're like, oh, I want some other ideas, look through the comments. See if there's people who have posted something else in there that is really interesting for the event. I'm personally excited to try out some different things with the different runnings of this event. I almost never use the same deck twice in an event. I try to switch it up every single time an event comes around. And so I think that this event is a really engaging and exciting event. I'm very, very glad that they made this event. So with that, I want to show you guys some gameplay of my two favorite decks, which are Kasmina and Grist, just so you can see some of it in action and see what I'm talking about. Alrighty, let's showcase some of this Commoner Cup action. My opponent is running Lulth, so they've got a +5 to black. Let's take away their black, and then let's actually prioritize... Yeah, let's always prioritize gem conversion here. So, especially in this format, you want to get as much mana as you can. You really don't have the mana providers that you would have in a normal deck. And so getting a lot of gem conversion in your deck and then getting that down early is really, really helpful. I find that if you're running the right Planeswalkers, you're going to be having very powerful loyalty abilities as well. And so getting that extra loyalty from making the extra gem matches is also very much in your favor. So here, this is a really great situation for me because I have some bounce spells with the Blue Man group over here, aka, I don't know, Lord Voldemort and the Blue Man group banged one out and made these things. I don't know. But yeah, we've got those. They're going to bounce my opponent's first thing. It's going to be really great. And we've got an 8/9 with Ward on the battlefield. This thing is an absolute monster. So really, really like that card. And at this point, I think I'm pretty much in the driver's seat, apart from the fact that I need to cast some more supports. So here what we're going to do, one of the things I really like about Kasmina here is the first ability is going to let us sift through our deck a little bit. I've got Nissa's Pilgrimage coming up next turn into my hand, so I'll take the Hunter Maze this turn instead. So we'll play that down with this green match, unless I see a very good reason to go for something else. I do not. I could go for the white into red, but I'd really like to get the Hunter Maze down. So I'm going to play the Hunter Maze here. Just get another converter, try and get some more of that sweet, sweet loyalty going from the conversion. My opponent's playing their first creature, which is just fine. We're going to take a quick look at what that is. It's a 3/4, destroys cards from their library, and brings things back from the graveyard. That card is not going to help them. So I've got a whole bunch of control in my hand. I've got 2 of these Blue Man Group fellas in here, so we're sitting pretty right now. And then loyalty-wise, I'm at 3, so I'm going to take the green into loyalty. That's going to ensure that I can use my first ability again next turn. So we're going to drop these 2 down. We're going to get rid of my opponent's first creature. I'm going to get a clue from the Blue Man Group, which is another thing that's really nice. You get control, and you also get card draw out of that. So really, really, really good card. My opponent's playing a creature. They're playing a support. This is just fine. I have a lot of conversion down. Their support is going to be a converter of their own. Good choice, opponent. And then here I'm going to get unlucky drop to charge up for me. I've got another support here, which is fantastic. We're going to bring this one on up here. And then I just really quickly want to check how I'm doing. So I'll need 1 more support. I can probably just drop this 1 unlucky drop over here. I don't need that. And then, do I have a double match? I do. I've got green into red. This is perfect. Ooh, that's a 5 match. I get another bonus swap out of that. Love to see those. So we're going to ping my opponent here. And then I've already used my first, I think, right? I have. So then at this point, I'd like to preserve the shield counts on my supports. So I'm going to take the green match up here defensively, just so that my opponent doesn't destroy it. And then I'm definitely in the driver's seat here with 16 power worth of creatures, one of them effectively being hexproof. One of the reasons you actually are going to really want to make sure that you have non-targeted removal in this format. And then, let's see. Let's sift through these top cards again. I've got another Hunter Maze. This should be the last support I need. Perfect. And then I've got oodles of control for days in my hand. So I'm going to keep that all nice and safe in my hand. I'm going to destroy my opponent's support here with the red match, I think. Hope that I get a Cascade since I don't have enough. I don't have a green or a blue match that's looking really good to me right now. But I get rid of my opponent's support, and I like that. And then I'm just going to see what my opponent does, respond to it all, and keep on cruising. So they play their creature. This is very much a game over moment. I didn't even get my power card from here, which is kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. We're going to get the Blue Man Group going again. I'm going to actually toss... I'll toss Entry Denied. No, I'll keep Entry Denied. All right, we're going to get the hot shots going. So we're going to bounce my opponent's creature again. This actually puts me in a position where I should be able to win pretty quickly. Let's see. The fractal tokens, are they based on... They're based on level. Okay, whenever it's reinforced. Let's just use the first again. I really don't need it. Ooh, Slime Against Humanity, you say. Yes, please, I say. All right, well, I finally got a Slime Against Humanity, but it's a little bit too much too late, where I just don't need it here. I'll be getting another one next turn, which is pretty sweet, but I don't need it. These things are nasty, though, so... All right. At the very least with this, if my opponent does play a removal card, then it won't actually help them that much. So let's see what we get here. So we're going to get some match into match into match into match. Not quite enough for my second ability, unfortunately. No, I'm a little bit off. And I don't have... No, I don't have a 5 match. So here I suppose I might as well just use my first, see what else I've got coming. All right, I'll take this Oasis here because it's basically free, and then let's see if I can actually get the right Cascade. I don't. It's fine. I was gonna win anyways, but just for fun. And yeah, that was absolute control. My opponent wound up playing some cards, but it really didn't matter because I bounced everything. And that is the power of this deck. I have now played, I want to say, 10 matches with this deck. 12? I don't know. I've played quite a lot. And it's gotten me full points every single time. It's very flexible, very adaptable. You've got a ton of removal. You've got a ton of card draw. And with Kasmina's abilities, you can use the first to fetch what you need. You can use the second to either copy and get free mana for removal, or your slimes to kill your opponent. And if you want for good measure, the third ability is going to give all your converters more shields, and then is going to empower all of your creatures as well. So really, really strong, effective deck for this game mode. This Grist deck is going to represent another overwhelmingly powerful strategy that you can use in the Commoner Cup, which is going to be to use the toxic poison counters. So here I'm going to try and get an early Hunter Maze down. I've got a lot of matches. This middle black landfall has the biggest chance to cascade, and not only does it not cascade, but it gives my opponent a whole bunch of goodies, so definitely don't love that. The downside to this variant of the deck is that, by this variant of the deck I mean the not Kasmina deck, is that it's going to be able to kill the opponent really, really quickly. So the whole like toxic mechanic is able to wipe your opponent out, sometimes a little bit quicker than you want it to. So I'm gonna go for this landfall again and see if this time it doesn't burn me. This time it doesn't burn me, but it also doesn't really get me anything great, which is unfortunate. So let's see, my opponent's got quite a bit of power down on the battlefield. They've got a 6/6 Bat Lizard and a 5/5. It's kind of funny to think about that being a lot of power on the battlefield, but in this particular game mode, that's just how the cookie crumbles. So here, I could try and get that Haunted Mire. You know, I'm actually just going to. Why not? The quicker I get my loyalty, the faster I'll be able to do fun things. So Grist has an absolutely ridiculous amount of HP. So I'm sitting pretty here on the HP front right now. As for gem matches, I have a lot of different options. Again, I'm going to be taking the loyalty and the green together, just because, you know, the more loyalty I get, the quicker I'm going to be getting my goodies down. My opponent, of course, gets another 5 match. That's just the way that this particular match is going. They're hitting me for 5. That's okay. Nothing too scary yet. And then I'm actually going to guess that my opponent is more likely than not going to be destroying my first creature. This one's got haste that I just brought in, which is nice. The haste is going to definitely hit my opponent and give them their first 3 poison counters. And then I've just got so much conversion down on the battlefield here that I'm feeling really comfortable about where I'm at. My opponent's going to be using their first to destroy my critter. That's fine. They've got 127 life, but the actual life total doesn't really matter given that I'm just going for all of this toxic nonsense. So they killed my creature, no big deal. It can come right back from this ridiculousness that is Grist. And then as for which match to make, I am going to take the black corrupt gems. Let's see if we get anything else going. We're going to get rid of my opponent's creature. I've now got 2. Oh, I accidentally double cast that. Oh, I didn't double cast it. It came out of my graveyard. That's fine. They're going to kill my creatures, which means absolutely nothing to me because they're just going to keep coming back from the graveyard. And then we're going to save our removal there. Let's go ahead, get some more critter action going. We're going to bring that thing back from the corrupt gems. That's beautiful. And then let's see how we're doing on objectives, shall we? I know that I'm doing pretty well so far on the support objective here. I need to cast 1 more support. That's perfect. So let's go ahead, bring our dinosaur in, and then I'm going to take this match over here even though it destroys one of my supports just because it's going to bring down my final support. And then if I wind up killing my opponent somehow, then it won't really be it won't be a bad thing. So they're going to destroy my critter. That's fine. They're welcome to destroy everything. I don't care. It's all going to come back. And then I'm going to get more matches. I'm going to get something back from the graveyard. I've got something to kill their critter. So let's Maggot Feast, and then we're going to get that thing back. Perfect. How many Tox encounters are there? 14. I'm going to add 5, so they'll be at 19. Let's try and get Vraska's Fall here, actually. Yep, we're going to get Vraska's Fall, and that's going to end the game. That'll be 20. So we destroy the opponent's first creature, and then that is going to get us to 20 toxic counters, and then that's game over. I win. Boom. And that's the power of this deck. So you don't really need to worry about your opponent's life total because you're going to kill them with the toxic anyways. And then the only thing you really need to worry about is making sure that you draw the cards and you don't kill your opponent too fast, because even though Bolas was killing all my stuff and I was bringing it all back, that does slow me down a little bit because only the dinosaur has haste. And so that gave me a few extra turns to draw some cards. But you just want to be a little bit careful about that, and that's about it. But other than that, I mean, yeah, my opponent was very, very dead. So easy wins with some really powerful decks. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay. That's all from me for this one. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.